The snow fell heavily that evening, blanketing the quiet streets of the small town in a thick layer of white. Inside his dimly lit garage, Nate worked methodically, the rhythmic clang of tools the only sound breaking the silence. The space was cluttered with worn-out car parts and half-finished projects, a testament to the countless hours he spent here. Nate, a skilled mechanic in his early 30s, had built a reputation for his craftsmanship, but life had not been easy for him. Each day felt the same: early mornings, long hours fixing cars, and solitary nights in his small apartment. While his hands worked tirelessly to repair broken machines, his mind often wandered to the dreams he'd once held. Dreams of building a thriving business, of traveling beyond the town's borders, of finding something more. Yet those aspirations seemed to drift further away with each passing year. On this particular evening, as the storm outside grew fiercer, Nate prepared to close up for the night. The cold air seeped through the cracks of the garage doors, urging him to finish quickly. He reached for his coat when the sound of tires skidding on ice pierced the stillness. Stepping outside, he saw a car stranded on the roadside, its hazard lights blinking against the falling snow. A figure emerged, wrapped tightly in a coat, clearly distressed. Curiosity and concern stirred within him. Little did Nate know, this encounter would set in motion events that would change his life forever. Nate approached the stranded car cautiously, the snow crunching under his boots as the wind whipped around him. The blinking hazard lights reflected off the white expanse, creating an eerie yet serene glow. A woman stood by the driver's door, her coat wrapped tightly around her as she paced anxiously. When she noticed Nate, relief washed over her face, and she waved hesitantly. "Are you okay?" Nate called out, his voice carrying over the storm. The woman, Claire, as he would soon learn, nodded, but looked frazzled. "My car just stopped working, and my phone, it's dead. I didn't know what to do," she admitted, her breath visible in the frigid air. Nate offered a reassuring smile. "Let's take a look. Don't worry, we'll get you sorted." Opening the hood of her car, Nate examined the engine with a practiced eye. The cold made his fingers stiff, but years of working in harsh conditions had prepared him for moments like this. "Looks like the battery's frozen," he said after a moment. "It's not uncommon in weather like this. Let me grab some tools from my truck." As Nate worked, Claire hovered nearby, clearly uncomfortable with the situation. "I can't thank you enough," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't stopped." Nate glanced up briefly, his breath forming clouds in the icy air. "Anyone would have done the same," he replied modestly. "It's no trouble." "Not everyone would," Claire countered, her tone laced with sincerity. "You didn't have to stop, but you did." After what felt like an eternity in the freezing cold, Nate managed to jumpstart the car. The engine roared to life, and Claire's face lit up with gratitude. "You're a lifesaver," she said, clasping her gloved hands together. Nate smiled, brushing snow off his jacket. "Just doing what I can. Make sure to get that battery replaced soon, though. It might not hold up much longer in this weather." Claire hesitated, then reached into her bag. "I want to pay you for your time," she said, pulling out a small wallet. "Please, let me give you something." Nate shook his head firmly. "That's not necessary," he said. "Just drive safely and get home warm." "But I insist," Claire argued, stepping closer. "You went out of your way to help me. I need to repay you somehow." Nate paused, sensing her determination. "All right," he said finally, holding out a hand. "If you really want to repay me, just pay it forward. Help someone else when they need it." Claire's expression softened, and she nodded. "I will," she promised, "but I'll find a way to thank you properly too. You'll see." With that, she climbed into her car, the warmth of the heater quickly fogging up the windows. Nate watched as she drove off into the snowy night, her taillights disappearing into the distance. As he walked back to his truck, he couldn't help but feel a sense of quiet satisfaction. He had done what he could, and that was enough. Little did he know, this simple act of kindness was only the beginning of something far greater than he could imagine. A few days had passed since the snowy night, and Nate was back in his garage, surrounded by the familiar hum of tools and the scent of motor oil. He was working on an old pickup truck when the sound of a car pulling into the lot caught his attention. Wiping his hands on a rag, he stepped outside and froze. There, parked neatly in front of the garage, was a sleek black sedan, a stark contrast to the vehicles he usually worked on. Claire stepped out, her movements confident and composed, a warm smile on her face. "Hi, Nate," she greeted, her voice carrying an air of familiarity. "I hope I'm not interrupting." Nate shook his head, still processing her unexpected arrival. "Not at all. What brings you here?" Claire walked toward him, extending her hand. "I wanted to thank you again for what you did the other night. You didn't just help me with my car. You gave me a sense of safety in a moment when I felt completely helpless." Nate shrugged modestly, brushing off the praise. "It was nothing. Just doing what anyone would do." Claire's smile deepened. "Not everyone would have stopped, Nate. That's why I'm here." She paused, glancing at the garage. "I wanted to learn more about your work. This place, it's got character." Nate chuckled, scratching the back of his head. Character was one way to describe his old, cluttered garage. "It's not much, but it gets the job done," he admitted. Claire's expression turned serious. "I own a logistics company," she revealed. "We operate a fleet of vehicles that need regular maintenance. I've been looking for someone reliable, someone who takes pride in their work. After what you did for me, I can't think of anyone better." Nate's eyes widened in surprise. "You're serious?" Claire nodded. "I am. I'd like to offer you a contract to service our fleet. It's a lot of work, but I believe you're more than capable." For a moment, Nate was speechless. The offer was unlike anything he'd ever received. His garage had been struggling to stay afloat, and the thought of securing steady work was both exhilarating and intimidating. I don't know what to say," he stammered. "This could change everything for me." "Then say yes," Claire encouraged, her tone light but persuasive. "You helped me when you didn't have to. Let me return the favor." Nate hesitated, his mind racing. Could he handle the responsibility? Would he be able to meet the demands of such a large client? As if sensing his doubt, Claire added, "I'll make sure you have the resources you need. This isn't just about helping me. It's about recognizing your talent and giving you the opportunity you deserve." Her words struck a chord. Taking a deep breath, Nate nodded. "All right," he said, his voice steady. "I'll do it." Claire beamed. "That's what I was hoping to hear. I'll have my assistant send over the details. In the meantime, let me know if there's anything you need to get started." As she prepared to leave, Claire turned back to Nate. "You know, sometimes a simple act of kindness has a way of coming full circle. I'm glad our paths crossed." Nate watched as her car disappeared down the road, the weight of her words settling in. For the first time in years, he felt a glimmer of hope, a sense that his hard work and kindness hadn't gone unnoticed. This wasn't just an opportunity to save his garage. It was a chance to rebuild his confidence and create something meaningful. Nate's first week managing Claire's fleet was anything but easy. The small-town mechanic, used to working on one car at a time, suddenly found himself facing a line of vehicles waiting for attention. The garage buzzed with activity, and Nate's once quiet workspace was now filled with the sounds of engines, phones ringing, and hurried footsteps. As the influx of work grew, Nate struggled to keep up. He had to hire an assistant, a young mechanic named Luke, who was eager but inexperienced. Delegating tasks was new to Nate, and he found himself torn between wanting to handle everything personally and trusting Luke to take on some of the workload. Mistakes happened, and Nate's patience was tested daily. "You're doing fine, Nate," Claire said one afternoon, stopping by the garage to check in. She leaned against the office doorframe, watching him with a calm but encouraging smile. "No one expects you to have it all figured out immediately. This is a learning curve, and you're climbing it just fine." Nate sighed, wiping his hands on a rag. "It just feels like there's so much to do, and I'm afraid of letting people down." Claire's expression softened. "You won't. You're hardworking and talented, Nate. That's why I chose you for this. But you're allowed to ask for help. You don't have to do it all alone." Her words stayed with him. Over the next few weeks, Nate began to rely more on Luke and streamline processes to make the workload more manageable. With Claire's guidance, he started to see himself not just as a mechanic, but as a leader. She introduced him to time management tools and even helped him create a schedule that balanced work and personal time. Despite the growing pains, there were moments of triumph that made the struggles worthwhile. One day, a customer, a truck driver, stopped by to thank Nate for a quick turnaround on a repair that allowed him to meet an important deadline. "You saved me, man," the driver said, shaking Nate's hand. "I'll be sending all my buddies your way." Nate couldn't help but smile. For the first time, he felt a sense of pride, not just in his work, but in the relationships he was building. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Nate sat in his office going over invoices. The garage was quiet, save for the hum of a small desk lamp. Claire's words echoed in his mind. "You're allowed to ask for help." He glanced at a framed photograph on his desk of his parents standing in front of the garage years ago, their smiles full of hope. They had always believed in his potential, and now, with Claire's support, he was beginning to believe in it himself. That belief deepened when Claire invited him to attend a business networking event. Initially hesitant, Nate agreed, stepping out of his comfort zone to mingle with other professionals. To his surprise, the connections he made opened even more doors, including a deal with a neighboring town's transportation company. Nate's garage was no longer just surviving. It was thriving. There were still moments of doubt, nights when he wondered if he could keep up with the demands. But each time, he remembered the people counting on him: Luke, his customers, and even Claire. They believed in him, and that belief became the fuel that kept him going. By the end of the first quarter, Nate's garage had transformed. What was once a struggling business was now a hub of activity and opportunity. Nate no longer felt like he was just fixing cars. He was building something meaningful, a future he could be proud of. Months had passed since that snowy night, and Nate's garage had become a symbol of resilience and growth in the community. The transformation was remarkable, but what Nate didn't realize was how far-reaching his impact had become. Claire, always observing from the sidelines, saw more than just a hard-working mechanic. She saw a man whose kindness had rippled out to inspire others. That's why she decided to nominate him for the prestigious Community Leadership Award. When Claire first told Nate about the nomination, he was taken aback. "Me? A leadership award? I'm just a mechanic," he said, his brow furrowed in disbelief. "You're much more than that," Claire replied with a warm smile. "Your kindness and dedication have not only transformed your business, but have also uplifted the community. People see that, Nate. You deserve this." The day of the award ceremony arrived, and Nate found himself standing backstage at the town's civic center, his heart pounding as he waited to be called. He adjusted his tie, feeling out of place among the suits and gowns, but Claire's reassuring words echoed in his mind. When his name was announced, the applause was thunderous. Nate stepped onto the stage, the bright lights momentarily blinding him as he approached the podium. Looking out at the sea of faces, friends, customers, and even strangers, he felt a lump form in his throat. Taking a deep breath, He began to speak. I I don't even know where to start, Nate said, his voice slightly shaky but sincere. A few months ago, I was just trying to keep my garage afloat. I never imagined I'd be standing here, accepting an award like this. He paused, his gaze sweeping across the audience. But this isn't just about me. This is about a community that believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. It's about the people who trusted me with their cars, their time, and their support. Nate recounted the snowy night he met Claire, his voice steadying as he shared how that one act of kindness had changed everything. I didn't stop to help Claire because I expected anything in return. I stopped because it was the right thing to do. And in doing so, I found a purpose I didn't know I was searching for. The room was silent, every ear tuned to his words. Nate continued, Claire gave me an opportunity that allowed me to grow, not just as a business owner, but as a person. She reminded me that kindness is never wasted, and that even the smallest actions can create a ripple effect. As he spoke, Nate's eyes glistened with emotion. He looked over at Claire, who was sitting in the front row, her expression one of quiet pride. Claire, I can never thank you enough for believing in me. You saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself. And for that, I'll always be grateful. The audience erupted into applause, but Nate wasn't finished. This award isn't just a recognition of my work. It's a reminder that we all have the power to make a difference. Whether it's fixing a car, offering a helping hand, or simply showing kindness to a stranger, every act matters. When Nate stepped down from the stage, the applause was deafening. People approached him to shake his hand, share their congratulations, and tell him how his story had inspired them. Among them were young mechanics who looked up to him, community members who had benefited from his work, and even those who had never met him but felt moved by his journey. Later that evening, as Nate stood outside the Civic Center, looking up at the star-filled sky, Claire joined him. You did great up there, she said, handing him a cup of coffee. You've earned this, Nate. Nate smiled, the weight of the evening settling in. It's still hard to believe, he admitted. All of this started because of one simple act. Claire nodded. That's the thing about kindness. It has a way of coming full circle. As they stood there, Nate realized that his journey was far from over. The award wasn't an endpoint. It was a new beginning, a reminder that his actions could continue to inspire and uplift others. And with that realization, he felt a renewed sense of purpose, ready to embrace whatever came next. Months after receiving the Community Leadership Award, Nate stood in his bustling garage, watching his team work with precision and pride. The once quiet space was now a hive of activity, a reflection of the thriving business he had built. Cars lined the lot, customers chatted warmly with staff, and a young apprentice named Sam eagerly took notes as Nate guided him through a repair. Nate's journey had come full circle. He remembered the days when he struggled to keep the garage open, unsure if he could make ends meet. But through an act of kindness and the opportunity Claire had given him, he had found not only success, but a deeper sense of purpose. He wasn't just fixing cars anymore. He was helping people, providing opportunities, and giving back to the community that had supported him. One afternoon, Claire stopped by the garage, her presence always a welcome sight. Still paying it forward, I see, she said, nodding toward Sam, who was engrossed in his work. Nate chuckled. I've learned that kindness doesn't just stop with one act. It grows, like a ripple in a pond. Sam's got potential, and if I can help him the way you helped me, then it's worth it. Beyond mentoring young mechanics, Nate had started a program offering free vehicle repairs for single parents and seniors in need. Word spread quickly, and the town rallied around the initiative, donating time and resources to support the effort. Nate's garage became more than just a business. It became a cornerstone of the community, a place where people felt cared for and connected. As Nate walked through the garage, he paused to admire a plaque mounted on the wall. The Community Leadership Award, a symbol of how far he had come. Beside it was a new addition, a small wooden sign he had crafted himself. It read, "Kindness is never wasted." Looking around, Nate felt a profound sense of gratitude. His life had changed in ways he never imagined, all because of a single decision to help a stranger on a snowy night. That one act had not only transformed his own future, but had inspired others to believe in the power of kindness and community. And as he watched Sam confidently finish the repair, Nate knew the ripple effect would continue for years to come. Thank you for watching Nate's inspiring story. It's incredible how one small act of kindness can create a ripple effect, transforming not just one life, but an entire community. Now, we want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced a moment where helping someone changed your life or theirs? Maybe it was something as simple as offering a helping hand, a kind word, or just being there for someone when they needed it most. Share your story in the comments below. Your experiences could inspire others to take that first step toward making a difference. Kindness is a powerful force, and stories like Nate's remind us that we all have the ability to create positive change. Whether it's in our workplaces, our communities, or even with strangers, the smallest gestures often leave the biggest impact. If this story resonated with you, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with friends and family. Let's spread the message that kindness is never wasted. Together, we can inspire more acts of compassion and create a world where small gestures lead to extraordinary outcomes. Thank you for being part of this journey, and we'll see you in the next story.